My name is Björn Baltoft, and I'm product manager for Exadata management in Enterprise Manager. I've been working in the Enterprise Manager group for the last 15 years as product manager, and we have the recent couple of years we have done quite lots of functionality for the Exadata management here. And the features that we're going to talk about is part of the Exadata management pack. So just to be aware of that. So we're going to talk a little about the Exadata management challenges and some of the solutions. So I will just give a brief overview of what's available within the Exadata management pack here. So challenges that we have seen from our customers is, yes, Exadata is deployed on for mission critical databases, and some customers has a single Exadata, some customers has multiple Exadatas up to several hundred Exadata, and with that it's also quite lots of management and monitoring that needs to be done here. We have different deployment types: Exadata on-prem, cloud at customer, and OCI, and we have multi-cloud also with Azure and Google Cloud and Amazon as well, where you can deploy your Exadata. So with that, it's also quite important to work with optimization. Cost and consolidation density is quite important for any customers. And Exadata is a large machine and quite expensive also when it comes to all the features and everything that's on using rack and using database licenses and everything. So that becomes a quite major application for you, and therefore it's also very important to try to have a cost optimization with optimized consolidation. If we're looking at an Exadata X10, X11 today, with the smallest configuration, a quarter rack, you have 392 cores of compute power. So it's quite lots of power in the machine, and that can extend to several thousands cores of when you have full rack environments also. With everything here, we also talking about our customers see productivity as one of their main concerns, and they want to improve the productivity. So that's about automation. Try to minimize the human errors that's is with installing, upgrading, and everything. So that's something that we have addressed here also. Maximize resource management. Make sure that the databases that needs the resources, they get the resources also. So with that, you can also increase utilization for those databases, and you can make sure that any database that needs resources get that resources also. It's in an aggregated situation where you, for example, if you have several VM clusters, you have storage that's are shared among all the clusters, and CPUs are shared among the database in one VM cluster also. So with that, it is important to ensure reliable performance for your databases. Identify if there are any noisy neighbors and restrict that noisy neighbor if it doesn't need the resources. Detect outliers, a database that using more resources than planned and so on, and using more CPU, IO, and everything. So with that, we have the Exadata management pack. So, and we have divided the features that we have available here into several different topics. So we have the analyzing your fleet of Exadatas and using that through dashboards and providing comprehensive inventory capacity and visualization visibility across the state. One Exadata, several Exadatas. And I will show you how that works, for example, on one Exadata. We have advisors, and that helps you to optimize the CPU and IO resources. And that's something that we're going to talk about in next 2 sessions. And then we have automation. And in the automation we're talking about HF management, and we're talking about Exadata infrastructure patching that helps you to fully automate those features. So the key features that we have in the total pack here is about Exadata fleet dashboards, autonomous health framework administration, Exadata infrastructure patching, database impact advisor, and IO resource management advisor. We have also provided some additional features for Exascale, interactive IOPS visualization, and in the cloud, we using inventory visualization as well. So with the features that we're providing here, we are helping insurance configuration consistency across the fleet and harness security and everything on the system with compliance as well. Improved DevOps because we can do the patching more efficiently, and we can do AHF management up to 70% more with automation here, with better resulting. We have the optimization of resources, and of course, that's a topic of its by itself. So let's just briefly go through the resource advisors that we have available. The database impact advisors. So that's something that we integrate with the AHF balancing. So it's a system-wide Exadata CPU usage analyzing tool, identifying databases that's impacted or impacting as noisy neighbors in the environment. So we get information, what we call summary of the impacted and exposed databases. Impacted database, they are restricted on resources. Exposed databases, they will be impacted if other databases start to use their share of resources. So that helps us to give the information. We have fail, we have information, we have exposure and as well warnings and pass that we can provide for the databases. We also providing per instance historical chart, so we can see for 30 days if the database is impacted or not. And then we provide balancing reports, which tells us, so this is the advisory, tells us how to configure the database, how many CPUs each individual database should have to make sure that we have least amount of resources that's we're competing about. And of course, that may also happen that we can't restrict the resources. That means some database needs to move. This was something that happened with another customer a couple of years ago. They've identified with this tool the database that needs to be moved. IO resource management, same here. We can provide a heat map of every database on the Exadata machine, telling how much resources they're using, if they are above or close to limits of the IO resource management configuration, and so on. So all of that is available. We provide that also in line graphs and bar charts here, where we can see the details about the IO consumption for each individual database and if they are reaching limits. And the last part that's have a short overview of is about the automation. So here we have first the AHF administration automation, where we both can manage AHF. We deploy the latest AHF on each node in the cluster. We use gold images, so you can download the latest AHF, and then we can distribute that to all nodes and every on the cluster, and for all Exadatas also. We can also do this automatically, so configuring AHF auto upgrades. We can schedule AHF compliance checks and schedule a Exa check auto runs from the interface here. And of course, sometimes it is required by support, as an example, to provide you with an on-demand report. And this is something that we can run for each individual Exadata with one command. So on every node, instead of just logging in, connecting, running the report, then we have the ability to use this interface and run for all nodes in parallel directly with any settings and flags that needs to be done. And of course, we have monitoring. So we have monitoring of the upgrade history, HF service status, every auto run and upgrades. So we get all the information and can see where we are on if there is an HF version that needs to be upgraded and so on. And all the Exacheck run history can also be identified. So here we have the commands. Let's also just briefly talk about the Exadata infrastructure stack patching that we have available. So we are using the same interface as Enterprise Manager using for fleet patching of databases. But here it is the infrastructure. So now we can upgrade database servers, we can upgrade KVM guests, send DOM-use and DOM-use, storage servers, and InfiniBand switches. Rocky is on the target. It will be very close to be delivered. And everything here, it gives you the possibility to run the upgrades, monitoring the upgrades, and if there are any type of problems during the upgrade, then we can restore to the latest release and have everything up and running and working again. So that helps us with the compute nodes, storage servers, IB switches, Rocky switches soon, and other components as well. So let's then go into the topic for today and talking a little more about the analyzing and visualization. Fleet dashboards. Okay, we talk about fleet, but what is a fleet? It's maybe one Exadata, because on that Exadata you have a fleet of databases. You may even have a fleet of VMs. So it becomes a fleet, even if you just have one Exadata. And this is quite important to understand and see how your environment works. So with one of the dashboards, the fleet configuration dashboard, we can provide details about every component on the Exadata. So we have which type of Exadata, Exadata generation. We have information about storage server generation, switches, and software also. So that provides us with quite lots of details on the machines. And we will see how we can use that and utilize this for different use cases later on in the demo. Then we have Exadata fleet aggregated capacity. So this is how much resources do I have on all my Exadatas in this environment. CPU utilization, so we can see, do we have capacity? And then we can filter, so we can see where we have the capacity and so on as well. Next, and of course, we can get details. So for certain hours, if we have peaks and so on, then we can look at every different, like here, we hovering over CPU utilization or a peak in read latency, and we can see how that is if we have an increased utilization of CPU and read throughput and everything also. So that is available here. Next is the fleet capacity. So here we actually taking each individual Exadata and we have information and details about these Exadatas. How much utilization, the size of the bubble also tells us a little about how much capacity we have on each individual. So here we can see that, yes, we have one Exadata that's highly utilized, another one that's low utilization, and we have small Exadatas with high utilization, and so on. So all of that is available here. And then we have the fleet component capacity, where we go on individual components. This also provides us with very fine-grained details about each individual Exadata, each individual storage server, and so on in the environment. That helps us to understand, do we have capacity? Where do we have capacity? And can we move something around in this environment? So let's show a little here. So in the dashboards, we have these four. So we go to Target, Enterprise, and Dashboards. There we get a list of dashboards that's available. We have four different dashboards. So let's start with the configuration dashboard. Let's take a scenario. You have one or several Exadata that's where you have some issues, or you may need to patch, or you get a security alert or something like that. So here we can identify that, okay, yes, we have storage server on different models. We can actually see that we have one really old Exadata. That's an X3. So that's the storage servers. And we can then also see the storage server models for each individual Exadata. Let's just take the scenario that we have this one has a security alert. So Exadata storage server version 24.1 needs to be upgraded. So which Exadata do have this version? So we can then see that, okay, here we have two different Exadata machines, or the SCA cluster here, and then we have this 02. So 05, 02, those are the Exadatas that needs to be upgraded on storage servers. We can then, as an example, say that, okay, we have this one. So now let's try to funnel down and look at storage server 24.1. And now we have only this Exadata machine or these Exadata machines, depending on the size. We can now also see which databases are affected by this. So here we can see that we have a set of databases on this machine. So that's a large set of databases, 35 databases, or rather 66 databases. And of course, we can see different versions. We can also see pluggable databases. There are lots of pluggable databases that are going to be affected. So it's very easy for us to get the list of what's causing this, where do we have this problem, and who's owning these machines. Let's take another scenario. So we had a situation actually, one of my Exadata machines, which was supposed to be part of the environment here, were removed, at least the agents was removed. So I need to do some from another file here. So here we have one of the Exadata machines where we have disk failure. And we can see, I know that this is the X3 machine. So here we have the hardware that we have failures on. We can then look at, okay, which machine. So it is one of the machines, and we can here also see the details on that one. Actually, it's on the IORM, so it's the server by itself. It's not the storage. But as we can see here, we have three disks that actually have issues. This becomes a major problem for us, because if the last one is also dying here, then we will not have this environment available anymore. So in reality, what we need to do is either get new disks. That might not be possible. So in that case, we may need to move these databases that's on the system. So let's remove the filter that we had on the 24. And now we can see, okay, here is my X3 environment. Exadata generation. So we select this Exadata generator here. It's only one machine, and we can see that we have 4 databases running on this machine. And from that, we go back to the dashboards, and we are going to the fleet aggregated capacity dashboard. A small Exadata, 32 cores, and we're using about 21 of those cores, and 11 are free at the moment. We can see that the utilization during the last month have been up and down a little, but mostly we are about 65% utilization on the machine. Storage utilization is also available. So, and we can see read latency, we can see read throughput on the machine, and IOPS and everything on this machine. So now we know quite much about this Exadata. And if we, for example, had several Exadatas, with the same generation, then we would have that. We used the filter. So when we went from the configuration dashboard, we had the generation here. Now let's see, can we move these databases? And how should we move, and from where to what? We can see that in total, we have quite lots of capacity. We have 2,352 cores. So it's quite lots of capacity that's available. We have quite lots of memory available also, and we can see that read throughput, everything is fine. It's not really extreme values on this one. And that's the reason, because it's a lab environment where we are doing some testing. All information is also available on IO load and everything. So let's see more on next level. Here we have the fleet capacity. And as we said, with the fleet capacity, we are now able to see each individual Exadata by itself. And what we can see here is that we have Exadatas in 3 different locations. By adding this filter on the X3 again, we can see that, okay, this Exadata was in Gothenburg Old. So the old data center, and we are now removing the Exadata, the filter here, and we see that, yes, we have Gothenburg Old, we have Gothenburg, and we have Colorado. And we can do different type of groupings here. So as an example, let's group on contact. Who's responsible for these individual Exadatas? So my name here, and Curtis is also on the line here. So his Exadatas are the orange and my are the blue ones. And I can see mine here. And by adding another filter, so let's add the filter of location. So we are excluding the Colorado because the latency will be quite different there. So what we can see is that, okay, here is my 2 different Exadatas. I have this one, 32 cores, and it's utilized to around, right now, 45%. And then I have the other one, that's my new machine. So here we have quite lots of capacity available. We have 192 cores. We have a 16% utilization. Memory is quite highly utilized, so it might be that we can't create new databases. It possible is that we need to use the databases that's already there. We can also see more information about disk groups here. So this is my new machine. And here we can see that we have 68 terabytes of free space. We have used about 2% in total. And then we have the second one here, which is also, but here we just have a much smaller size of available space. We can also see the growth. for example, let's take this one. This is my old Exadata, and I can see that the growth rate is not so high. So it shouldn't be any problem to fit these databases into the storage in that case. I have lots of capacity. My new databases that's already running on the system, they have the ability. They're using less, they're using and growing quite much faster. Same with ASM disk groups. We can actually not even see the other one. It's so small in this case. We have information about read latency and everything on the system, so we can see that response times and utilization for my different system is the response time here is quite much higher, so and so on. So all these details are available. We can also see the same information here on my Exadata in line charts or bar charts, where we now can see that we have 192 cores, the utilization 16%, as we saw from the other one, 46% here. Okay, that's fine, but also know that my new Exadata is a virtual configuration. So I have sliced and have virtual clusters in my environment. Can I fit everything in one place, or do I need to split up my databases? So then we go to the fleet component. And here we have quite much more details about this environment. So let's change this one again and go to location just to make sure that we get the correct location for each individual. So the old one, here we have the utilization. What we can see, for example, is that I have one VM cluster. That's VM01, which is quite highly utilized. So there we have 32 cores. Same, this is 16, so this is more or less double the size. But we have a quite high utilization. But we have also a couple of other here, VM02, with around 11% of utilization. So actually, we can more or less fit every database into this cluster without any problems. So that helps us to understand the total configuration and everything about how to move around our databases in this environment. And we also know that the new Exadata is probably much faster than the old one. So, but it's not really showing up in these graphs here. But what we can do here is we can take this information, we can try to figure out, can we move these databases and where? So we can use Migration Planner to identify, can we move these databases to this cluster? And from the Migration Planner, we can then use Migration Workbench to migrate the databases. And of course, we can use real application testing to really validate the utilization, how much capacity we're using from these databases in this environment. And that helps us with a complete picture of the migration. As we said, we have the details. We have for each individual storage cell. Then we can see the response time, how much disk IO we using utilization of the disks, throughput, how much we using, as we can see, these are the old one. They are quite low utilized. This IOPS and throughput is small on these compared to this, so it is a small part that we increase it. With that, I've been showing everything that we have today with the dashboards. So I will open up for Q&A. Finalize slides.
And then to revisit some of the questions, there were a lot of questions about what was available in the database at Azure. So if you want to touch on any of that, that might be helpful as well.
Absolutely, yes. So we're using the documentation here. That's one of the things. We have a blog, observability blog, where you can find more details about this. We have also a couple of videos on this topic. And of course, it's the oracle.com Enterprise Manager where we have all the details about it. When it comes to database at Azure or any third-party cloud, everything that we show here works. So you can do everything about the dashboards in this environment. All the monitoring, both default monitoring and the monitoring that's available in the pack, are available for the third-party cloud solutions also using Enterprise Manager. It will work more or less same as Oracle Exadata in OCI. Both Exadata, ExaCC, ExaCS will work. The only thing that we currently not supporting is patching, because that's done by Oracle, the team for OCI. So they currently doing the patching of your infrastructure, which are not necessary here.
We've had a couple of questions come into the Q&A as well.
Yeah.
The first question is, can we set up these dashboards to send us an email?
Currently not. We are looking at this possibility because we see that, yes, it is important. Some customers have asked similar questions around, we want to know utilization for a certain system or for a certain environment, and therefore we want this. It is about automating with filters and then sending emails, and that's something that currently looking at and trying to figure out.
And then the next question is the database impact advisor included with ExaCS on OCI, or does it require its own license?
So it requires their own license. Everything that we have talked about, the features today, they need to be licensed on Exadata on-prem, Exadata Cloud as a license.
Okay, that clears up the Q&A for now, but please take this time. If you do have a question that's still remaining or you're kicking around, go ahead, raise your hand or ask it in the Q&A. With that, I'm not going to keep you any longer unless somebody has a question. You are in a great session, and I'm looking forward to the next two. I've posted that session information. It will also be listed in the replay email once that goes out.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no more questions, I can conclude this call. Thanks everyone for joining the call, and have a great rest of your day.